Welcome to this explainer. If you're a founder looking to build the next big thing, you probably think you need to look to Silicon Valley for the ultimate startup survival guide. But what if I told you the most ruthless, effective business advice actually comes from a dusty 19th century merchant manual? Today, we're going to unpack a phenomenal piece of writing called The Master's Eye and see exactly how these old school rules of business translate perfectly into a modern startup playbook. This quote right here perfectly sets the stage. Think about your idea right now, your beta software, your brand new small business. It's that muddy stone. You might be dreaming of a billion-dollar tech startup or a massively successful boutique, but right now it's just raw material. There is a fortune in there for sure, but as the author reminds us, you have to put in the hard work and close thought to actually carve it out. You can't just cross your fingers and hope the angel reveals itself. Okay, let's dive into this six-part playbook. We'll be covering why startups fail, calculating your minimum basis, the house canvas, securing a choice location, scaling to maximum basis, and finally, the personal equation. Starting right off with part one, why startups fail and how you can avoid those pitfalls. It's kind of crazy, but the fundamental reasons companies collapse completely haven't changed in over a century. Human behavior remains the same, so the pitfalls of commerce remain exactly the same. The text lists four primary reasons for failure, and it's incredibly easy to translate these old merchant warnings into modern startup terms. No room for the business? That's simply a lack of product market fit. Nobody actually needs what you're building. Poor establishment is terrible marketing and distribution. Wrong stock means you're building the wrong features or carrying bad inventory. An unattractive presentation, well, that's just a very 19th century way of saying you have poor UI or a terrible customer experience. The traps are literally the exact same today as they were back then. Moving on to part two, calculating minimum basis, which is basically survival math. To avoid those traps we just talked about, you have to validate your idea using what the text calls the minimum basis. The old rule aggressively warns against going in blindly and just trusting luck. Actually, the author notes, luck is always on the side of pluck and tact. You absolutely need to know your minimum basis. This is the exact, specific number of patrons required, spending a certain daily or weekly average, just for you to make a living and keep the lights on. You have to figure out what exact percentage of the market's patronage is essential to your survival before you even open your doors. So here is a direct challenge to you. Do you know your number? Do you know the exact minimum number of daily users or the exact monthly recurring revenue you need just to survive? Is it 100 true fans paying you $10 a month? Is it 10 enterprise clients? If you don't know your minimum basis, you're operating on blind hope, not pluck and tack. That brings us to part three, the house canvas, or how to actually find your early adopters. This is a brilliant illustration of how to get traction. Spoiler alert, you can't rely on your friends, relatives, or automated software. The text advises a house-to-house canvas. It explicitly says, do not trust this work to a clerk or a friend, because nobody has your interests at heart as much as you do. You're supposed to tell people pleasantly that you are a new bidder for their patronage. Take a few samples of your choicest goods with you. The modern equivalent of this? Founder-led outbound. It's you, the founder, personally direct messaging your first 100 potential users on LinkedIn or walking into local businesses, pleasantly introducing yourself and offering a free beta trial. You've got to do the unscalable manual work of knocking on those digital doors. Part four, securing a choice location. Let's talk about establishing your presence. Are you currently hiding behind a quiet, hard-to-find website? The rules here are ruthless and highly applicable to your brand positioning today. First, you've got to go to the people. They won't magically come to you. You have to avoid shabby back streets. In today's world, that means bad SEO, poor foot traffic, or a confusing web domain. You need to step out largely and conspicuously with curious, newsy, and alluring signs. Your brand presence needs to be loud, engaging, and placed exactly where the traffic actually is. And most importantly, do not rely on sympathy. People trade where they get the best deal. They're not going to buy your software or hire your agency just because you're a struggling founder. You have to command their attention. Now, let's look at part five, scaling to maximum basis. Let's see how this builds from basic survival up to your high watermark. The maximum basis is essentially your total addressable market. But the text is incredibly realistic about the obstacles keeping you from capturing that whole pie. You've got your ideal trade target, but a huge chunk of the market is blocked by what the text calls out-of-town dealers and sharp rivalries. That's your modern digital competition. Another slice is blocked by old loyalties and secret fraternities, which translates to legacy enterprise contracts and brand inertia. To fight this, the book insists you set a daily gross earnings target. Declare it daily. And when you fall below that mark, you must immediately bestir yourself in many ways to win back that market share.
And finally, part 6, the personal equation. This is the ultimate X factor.
Now, what's really interesting about this final phase is the beautiful vintage vocabulary used to describe the sheer charisma and deep networking a founder needs. The text says that you, in contact with your customers, counts for more than anything else. It talks about the weather of the face, the temperature of the hand, and the color of the voice. It's all about authentic human connection. It tells you to treat patrons as friends. It literally advises you to join the church, the regiment, the fire company, and the secret society. In modern terms, that means integrating yourself deeply into industry forums, networking events, local chamber of commerce meetings, or Slack communities. You have to become a pillar of the community you're trying to serve.
The book then shifts to a demand for intense, hands-on dedication. Be everywhere in your place of business. As a founder, you cannot simply hand everything over to your modern-day clerks, your automated systems, outsourced support, or junior hires. You have to be deeply embedded in the daily reality of your business. You must oversee the smallest details. We're really hammering home the core philosophy of the text here. The author writes that the absolute diamond of success is the master's eye. If you aren't watching the metrics, reading the customer support tickets, and testing the product yourself, you lack that master's eye. And trust me, your business will suffer for it. Building a business takes an all-consuming energy. As the text plainly puts it, enthusiasm moves stones. To illustrate this level of dedication, the author quotes a noted financier who said that a bank never gets to be truly successful until it gets a president who takes it to bed with him. You have to carry your business in your brain at all times. It is a total, absolute commitment.
So, what does this all mean for us today? The overarching message of this 19th century manual is ultimate accountability. There's no fate in business. If you fail, don't lay the blame on circumstances. Put it on yourself. There is only opportunity, purpose, grit, and the master's eye. I want to leave you with this challenge. Are you relying on blind luck and sympathy, or are you truly carrying your business in your brain? The fortune is sitting right there in your humdrum store, but it's entirely up to your own hard work to carve it out.